I'm glad to have you back here for another version of our 10 Minutes with Hangout on Air series. Today, I'm really excited because I get to bring in somebody else that is probably even more passionate about Google Plus than I am, which may be hard to top, but I want to bring in Nikol Murphy. Nikol and I have gotten to know each other through Google Plus. She is also here in the Raleigh area, and she's got a great story because she doesn't come strictly from the digital marketing background, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I will certainly let her share her story with you. So with that said, I want to go ahead and bring Nikol into the conversation. Nikol, welcome, and thanks for joining me for a 10 Minutes with segment.
Hey, John. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be part of your show. This is great.
Absolutely. This has been a lot of fun. We've certainly gotten to meet a lot of different people, and I'll just put in a plug here that if you want to see any of our previous episodes, you can see that on the YouTube channel, or you can pop back over here within the blog, and you can find those previous segments as well. But Nikol, we're glad to have you in today because, as I said in the outset, you are probably one of the most passionate people, even more so perhaps than I am, about Google Plus. You really love the platform, and that's how we got to know one another. I think it was actually at one of our hangouts in real life here in the Triangle area, which has the unfortunate acronym of being a HURL, but that's a story for a different day. But it's a fun thing, a fun way to get to know other people on Google Plus. But I've been very interested in learning your story. So what I'd love to do is to bring you in and tell us a little bit about how you got to the digital marketing space. So give us a little bit about your background.
Well, I come from an events background. I started working in restaurants, managing them, went to hotel banquet, was a hotel banquet manager, and then went out on my own as a wedding planner. That was out in Boulder, Colorado, and then I got married and had some kids and took a little bit of a break. Came back over, now we moved to North Carolina, and I started my business up again. That was in 2007. And then in 2008, when I was, just a solopreneur trying to figure out how to promote my company, I saw this amazing thing called a blog. And when you posted something on a blog, then it was searchable and you could be found in search. And I was hooked. I was running around telling all of my vendor friends, oh my gosh, you guys have to do this. And have you seen that companies are now getting on Facebook? So now you can, let me tell you, it was so exciting. And I brought people over kicking and screaming, just like I bring them over to Google Plus now, kicking and screaming. But they started to see the value, and I would tell people, and they'd say, what do I need to do on Facebook? I don't understand what I would be doing. And I said, talk about this and talk about that. And all of a sudden, I was on the phone consulting other businesses about their marketing strategies on the internet more than I was running events. Yeah. And when you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, being able to work from home is very, very, very attractive. So I made the switch and I started advising companies on their digital and social media strategies. And then one day I had a coworker and she said, this whole live tweeting thing is great, except I don't know how to tweet. There's all these people that are going to be on the panel at our meeting. Is this something you can do? You already have the background. You know how the event is going to flow. And can you just sit and live tweet this? So I did it, and I was hooked. It was a panel where there was a member from WRAL, UNC, Duke, NC State. It was amazing. And then I said, wow, now the kids are in school. And they have these brilliant things called business meetings where it's during school hours, and all I have to do is go there and live tweet or live report it. And so now I'm trying to call what we do social reporting. There really isn't a term out there for what we do yet. People are like, are you a Twitterer? Are you a hangouter? Like, what do you do? And it's been a good question for me to try and figure that out as well. But I think social reporting kind of encompasses everything we do. So my business evolved again to where now we are back to being an events company that focuses on the digital experience of your attendees that are there, as well as your virtual attendees that are watching what's going on. No longer are you confined within the four walls that you're holding your event. The whole world could be following and participating with you as well. And you can, I mean, the reach potential is enormous now. Yeah. So I'm trying to educate the rest of the events field on this very, very key part that is happening at their events already, and they need to tap into it, and they need to be aware of it, whether they do it themselves or hire a company like us to monitor their events or, you know, report them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of long story.
That's great.
Short.
No,
that's how it
works, right? I mean, that's you find those opportunities that are out there, and you go in and help, right? And so you mentioned a couple of things that I think we really need to dig in on. One is, so your perspective of running an events-driven company and helping bring more life, almost a fourth dimension to those events. So what are some of the challenges you've seen as you have begun introducing that into more events? What are some of the questions that normally come up?
Well, I think we're at a point right now where event planners, they've got the formula down. They know that if they do steps 1 through 10, they're going to have a very good, successful event. What I've noticed, and I noticed it, a couple of years ago, probably like a year and a half ago, what really tuned me into this was I was standing at the back of the room, I was live tweeting an event, and I stood 5 feet away from someone who noticed there was no more coffee and picked out their phone out of their pocket and tweeted that there was no more coffee, just complaining about it. The server that was working in the room was 3 feet from that person in the corner of the room, waiting for someone to tell them, that they either needed something or, they were there to serve. Right. And I was just shocked at this new development that's been going on. And you see it all the time. People are tweeting about that the room is too cold, they can't hear the speaker. Well, we have, everyone has the staff to fix those problems, but if they don't know that they're problems, then they can't fix them. So the event planners walking around thinking they're doing a great job, and meanwhile, their attendees are complaining on the internet, and then people that are just viewing the event are seeing that, and that is not a good thing. Some of the questions that I get at this point are, how to herd everyone to one area to talk about it, how to get past the hurdles of, well, some of our attendees aren't on Twitter, some of our attendees aren't on Google+, they don't know to go to, our website to check these things out, and there's a lot of education. So we spend time educating the attendees before the event, and then at the event we absolutely remind them, and we invite anyone that needs to know how to use any of the platforms that we're reporting on up to our social reporters table, and we will go ahead and help people learn how to tweet, how to follow things, just so that they can get through the event.
That's great. Yeah.
It is great.
What a great way to address some of those real, actual, I guess, tactical level concerns, things that come up. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but and with the time that we've got left, there may be somebody out there that's watching this that's thinking, well, gosh, I mean, is bringing this fourth dimension, this Google Plus Hangout on Air, to my live event, is that right for me? So what are maybe, give me your 3 things that someone should be considering out there to answer that question of whether or not a Google Plus Hangout on Air is right for their live event? Because I guess there's some situations where it's not going to be a good fit, but there's got to be plenty that are, right?
Absolutely. We run a lot of interactive meetings, so if you have an expert that you would love to speak at a conference of yours or at a meeting of yours, and they are across the country or even across the world, you now have access to that speaker. You can contact them and say, hey, can I have an hour of your time? Join us via Google Hangout. The platform is free to use, and you now can pull in speakers that you would have never been able to fly over, paid for their hotel, paid for their per diem, and they don't mind doing that. That is a lot. They appreciate it as well. Taking out 48 hours, 36 hours of a week to go and speak for an hour is a big commitment. Now you can schedule several different conferences, meetings to attend in one day, and they can be all over the country.
Oh, I really like that a lot. I mean, that really allows you to open up the event and make it a much richer experience. Got to be great for the speakers as well. As you mentioned, it's less impact on them, but I love that concept of how it really opens up and makes for a more rich experience. Just by being able to, in a real-time setting, bring those speakers in, their thoughts, and maybe even tie it into things that they've heard that day.
Right, and so I would say number 2 is that you are partnering with YouTube, which is the number 2 search engine in the world, and people don't need to be on Google Plus to see what you're doing. Right. If you're holding a Hangout on air, it's public and it's broadcast live, and you have tools like the new audience questions tool, or you can house your Hangout in an event and ask people to submit questions through the comments. You can actually have the audience that's viewing interacting with the person that you are interviewing via Hangout on air live. And that is huge. I mean, it's just so powerful. And then you can keep that and house it. You can embed it on your website. You can share it out. You've got that content forever. I know that a lot of people are taking longer interviews and they're chopping them up so that they have even more content to go ahead and push out.
Exactly.
It's just a really, really great medium to get your message out and to connect with people on a level that you can't connect with them in any other way.
That's right, and one of the things that I talk about often, and this is about you, so not about me, but what you just said is right up the alley that I push a lot, which is when you move it out to YouTube, that content becomes unhinged, right? You can move that anywhere you want to put it, whether if it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or your blog or an email or right? So there's a lot of great opportunities out there, and I love how that works within a conference too.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's
Absolutely.
great. Well, you know, I'd love to spend even more time talking, and perhaps we need to do like a 3-part series just with Nikol about this great topic of events. But it is 10 minutes with, and we've gone just a little bit over, but that's okay. I don't think anybody minds because this is great content. So, Nikol, I want to thank you for taking the time to join in with me today and just to share some of your thoughts and some of the challenges that you've seen in this space, particularly with Google Plus and events. And I'd love getting the chance to meet you, of course, introduce you to many others. If you want to connect with Nikol, you can certainly find her on Google Plus, but she is actually on other platforms as well, LinkedIn and on Twitter, so you can follow her over there. You can also check her out at Talking Moose Media, which is her company, and certainly learn a little bit about some of the great companies that she's worked with to bring these platforms into play. Again, as I said at the outset, if you'd love to know more about our 10 Minutes With segment and see some of the other people that we've had a chance to talk with here at Digital Farm, please check that out here on the blog, and would love to hear some of your questions. So please feel free to shoot those to me. You can look me up right here on the blog as well. And just to put in, I guess, a shameless plug, since we've spent so much time talking about Google Plus, I'm over there as well, right? I'm not nearly as popular as Nikol. She is the queen of all things with Google Plus, but check me out over there as well. Would love to get connected and hear your thoughts. Nikol, thanks so much for joining me today and taking some time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Fantastic. So thanks again for joining us for another 10 Minutes With segment, and we'll see you again in the very near future.